What's happening, everybody? Boy Big Brandoh, and welcome to another episode of Bullshitting with Brandoh. Now, if you haven't watched any of the other episodes, I strongly advise you to go back and watch 1, 2, 3, 4. If you've already done that, watch them, listen to them, you're all caught up. Now, this one's going to be a little bit different because a lot of people have been hitting me up since the past episodes and asking me to pretty much talk about sneakers and shit like that, because a lot of other people are into sneakers and they didn't know I was because they just see me wearing Vans and other shit, or they just see me from here up, right, on YouTube. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about it because you guys hear me reference sneakers a lot in some of the other past episodes and other past podcasts. So I wanted to kind of talk about it, how I got into it, and pretty much, like my favorite shoe, shit like that. These are questions that I was getting in my DMs a lot. Was, what's your favorite sneaker? What's your favorite shoe? If you look at my Instagram, obviously you would know. Maybe it's not that obvious, but everybody always asks, what's your favorite shoe? So I kind of just wanted to get into it and talk about it here on out for one of the podcasts. So, like most people, I have the same exact story when it comes to sneakers. Growing up, my parents were broke. I was broke, you know what I mean? I couldn't afford shoes. I grew up wearing Pro Wings and XJ900s and rugged Outbacks like everybody else that was in the same boat. So, my parents weren't rich. I didn't come up from, like just my parents were balling and they could buy me whatever I wanted. And frankly, I didn't really care back then. When I was in elementary, I didn't even give a shit. I didn't really care about what I wore until maybe like the 5th grade, somewhere around there. And that's only because I used to look up to, like, I didn't really have like athletes or celebrities and shit like that I looked up to. I looked up to a lot of the cats that were hustling in my neighborhood that had money, that drove lowriders, that drove, drop blazers and shit like that. And the way they dressed, that was my influence growing up. Those are the dudes that I pretty much looked up to and was like, fuck, look what they're wearing. That's what I want to wear. You know what I mean? So I didn't really care about how I dressed because I would just cared about running around and playing at that time. You know what I mean? 4th grade, all that shit. You go out and play. You know what I mean? You had a pair of shoes to go to school in, and then you had your play shoes, which were your shoes from last year that were all fucked up, that those were your play shoes. I don't know if you guys grew up like this, but for myself, it was, you had school clothes and then you had play clothes. You know what I mean? You changed your clothes when you came home from school so you could go outside and play. Kids nowadays don't really go outside and play, so I'm guessing they don't have that. But for me, like I said, my parents weren't balling, so I wasn't going to be able to fuck up my school clothes outside, playing football, or fucking around getting them grass stained up outside playing. So came home from school, jumped out of the school clothes, jumped out of the school shoes, put on the play clothes with the play shoes, went outside and did my thing till night. You know what I mean? That was pretty much how it worked back when I was growing up. You know what I mean? And so like I said, my parents weren't balling. We didn't have a lot of money. So obviously I just really wasn't into sneakers. I wasn't into what I was wearing. It was just cool shit. And when I was growing up, I grew up in a reggae household where, we played reggae all the time. That's what I grew up on. So my uncles used to take me and my brother to, reggae concerts. We're going to like Bob Marley Festival and stuff like that when we're young, like dumb young. You know what I mean? And so I was wearing a lot of the concert t-shirts, tie-dye shirts, a lot of Rastafarian type of stuff on my shirts. And that, I just thought that was cool, you know what I mean? Some of my favorite bands like Steel Pulse and Oswald and shit like that, I'm wearing their tour t-shirts because my uncles would take me and my brother to some of these concerts when we're young. And so that's just what I was into, you know what I mean? And like I said, around 5th grade, things kind of changed because obviously, it was just, I would see what dudes were wearing in my neighborhood. Some of the older cats, I grew up with all older dudes, so all the older cats, I seen what they were wearing, I seen how they were putting stuff together, and I was like, man, that shit looks cool. Especially the hustlers, the dudes that were really making money. I seen them jump out of lowriders, hooked up, you know what I mean? And it wasn't nothing like crazy. They weren't wearing fully expensive shit. It was just, they looked crispy clean. Out here on the West Coast, it was a thing to have creased up pants, you know what I mean? You just always look put together, pressed up. I don't know if that was a gangster thing or what it was, but everybody always looked clean when they stepped out, you know what I mean? So all my older homies, I would see what they were wearing. The cats that were hustling, my uncle, my cousin, everybody that was out doing their thing, I seen what they were wearing, and I was like, damn, that shit it influenced me at 5th grade, you know what I mean? I'm going to school and I'm thinking about creasing up my pants. I'm going to school thinking about my shirt being creased up and just looking clean all the time. So, like I said, my parents were really broke. They were buying me the Pro Wings and stuff like that out of Payless, and it wasn't going to fly no more because obviously the Hustlers wasn't wearing Pro Wings and XJ900s. So, a cheap hood shoe that made you look clean was Chucks. And Chucks out here on the West Coast was a staple as a uniform to the Hustlers, to the cats that were banging, just to anybody in general. Chucks was just it, you know what I mean? That shit right there made you look clean. You had a fresh pair of Chucks on, you were doing it, you know what I mean? And back then, Chucks were dumb cheap too. They were like, I want to say, I remember there's a place called Athletic Shoe Connection, which is, it was a store that was right down the street from the skate shop that I was working at. They were a corner shoe store. It was called Athletic Shoe Connection, and you could buy pretty much anything out of there. But what I used to buy out of there was Chucks. That was it. And I remember they were I don't know if this was the price, but they were shooting them to me for $17. I remember this because 5th grade, obviously everybody pretty much was either trying to make money selling random shit, but I was into selling candy. In the 5th grade, I would buy a bag of blow pops. It had 50 blow pops in there, and I would buy the bag for $3.50. Plus tax came out to $4. So I would buy a bag of blow pops for $4, sell them for $1 each, and I was pretty much making $12.50, right? And then after that bag's gone, I'd go buy another bag for $4. So my profit was like $8.50. And then I would sell 2 bags in 1 week, and that would be $17. That was my profit, right? I was bringing home $8.50 profit because that $4 I was using to buy another bag of blow pops. So $17, that's how I remember it. If I needed a brand new pair of blue Chucks, black Chucks, I was going to Athletic Shoe Connection with my blow pop money and buying me a fresh pair. That was just my easy way into looking cool, looking fresh at a young age, was buying Chucks, and I was doing it off of blow pop money. This is like before Sam's Club. Like Sam's Club was called Pace, I believe. And Pace sold candy, and it was $3.50 for the bag, and plus tax, it came out to like $4, something like that. So obviously I needed my parents hook me up, buy me a bag of blow pops, but I was giving them the money, and they didn't knock the hustle. They didn't care what I was doing. It was just more so of, fuck it, he's making his own money, and it's to buy whatever he wants, because my parents weren't buying me, what I wanted. They were buying me what they could afford, and like most households, that's how it went down. So 5th grade, got into wearing Chucks, and then a cool thing that I was doing to, like, if my Chucks were looking a little beat up and I didn't have the money to buy a fresh new pair yet, I would just go spend $1.50 on some fat laces, some shoestrings, put them in the Chucks and clean up the Chucks, and they would look cool, crispy, new pair of laces, and I put the fat ones on there. I thought I was doing it, you know what I mean? So I was in the 5th grade. That was the outfit, was just trying to look as clean as possible on a very, very tight budget, because I wasn't buying everything else. I was just buying crispy shoes. So my pants had to be cool, so I would crease them up. My older brother and all my homeboys see them starching them up, creasing their pants down. So I wanted to do the same exact thing. That's how I was living. The way I got into the sneaker thing was because going into the 6th grade, now I'm conscious of what I want to look like, how I want to dress. You want to be cool. So we go to the mall. I'm with my dad. My dad's just hard worker. I think he was still in his work clothes. That motherfucker didn't care about no fashion, nothing. He didn't give a shit about anything. He just wanted to see what the price was. And you just bought a pair of shoes at the beginning of the school year, and that was it for you, right? So we go to the mall, and we go into the shoe store. My dad has an idea of what he wants to buy already, because obviously we're not in Payless. We're in an actual shoe store. I think it was Foot Locker or something like that. And walk inside. First sneaker like the very first shoe I see, Air Max 95. This is the year's 1995. The Neon 95 is the first shoe I see. I didn't know the name of it. I just seen it and said, fuck, that shit looks crazy. Air bubbles, all that shit, bright neon, the gradient from the gray to the dark gray. I was blown away. I said, what the fuck is that? It was so ugly that it was dope to me. And told my dad, yeah, I want these, man. These shits is cool. I didn't know the name. I just knew they were Nikes. I told my dad, yeah, I want these. My dad picked that shit up, looked at the price tag, laughed at me, put the shit back, and we ended up leaving with a pair of Reebok Classics. Like, this is just to show where my dad's head was at and where my mind was at. You know what I mean? We're on two totally different worlds when it came to this shit. So obviously there was no argument. You know what I mean? I told my dad which ones I wanted. He said, nah, that price is ridiculous for a pair of sneakers. So we left with a pair of white Reebok Classics, and that was within my dad's budget. You know what I mean? So I got those, and I remember that shoe forever. You know what I mean? I didn't know the name. I just remembered what it looked like, and I said, fuck, that shoe is fucking crazy. I need those. You know what I mean? That started the actual, like, not even addiction. That was just, I always remember that shoe, and I was like, fuck, I need that shoe. I want that shoe. I need it. I didn't even look at the price at the time. I just knew I needed to have it. So obviously, my dad's not going to buy this shit for me. So I'm in 6th grade. I got the crispy, fresh Reebok Classics, and which were cool. It was a cool gangster shoe too. Like, a lot of the older homeboys was wearing those shits, like the crispy white ones. Look cool with like Dickies, or they look cool with the 501s. So I was still doing it. You know what I mean? I was still in the ball game of looking cool. You know what I mean? I kept them clean, all that shit. So the candy business, obviously, making, you know, $12, $12.50 off of a bag wasn't going to cut it in the 6th grade no more. So I had to step my hustle game up. And at the time, bikes were it. BMX bikes were everywhere. Everybody rode a BMX. Everybody was riding chrome BMX bikes, I should say. So it's dynos, GTs. Everybody's out here getting them, doing it. People are getting their bikes stolen. That was just transportation, but at the same time, you was flossing. If you was riding your bike to school, you was showing it off. You know what I mean? After school, people was riding bikes. You was riding into the liquor store to play Street Fighter. All that shit. Everybody was just ready. You know, everybody had bikes back then. So obviously, I couldn't afford buying dynos wholesale. I didn't even know how to do it. But what I could do was get parts. So my hustle was selling bike parts. It was, you know, everything from like mag wheels to pegs to handlebar seats, the little racing things that went on the handlebars where you put your number and shit like that. I was doing that. I was selling all of that stuff to cats that had their bikes already. So if you had a dyno, you had a GT Performer, whatever it was, I was like, hey, let me get you some rims for them. Let me get you some mags. Let me get you some white walls, gum walls, whatever it was, because my dad used to take me to this swap meet. It was called Alpine Village, which was in Torrance, not too far from where I grew up in Gardena. And there was a bike vendor there, and he sold parts for dumb cheap, like really cheap. And I was like, damn, the bike shops charge X amount of money for these, and you're going to sell me a full set of mags for this much? I said, oh shit. So all I started doing was telling people like, hey, I could get you mags. I could get you pegs for your bike. I could get you this. And then I started putting lists together. On the weekend, I go to the swap meet with my dad, and I buy the shit. You know what I mean? So once I buy all the stuff, I go back and sell it to everybody. And that is where I started to figure out, all right, I need to make more money so I could buy shoes. I need to make more money so I could buy shoes. In my head, I'm trying to get to the Air Max 95 level. Like, my money, that's where I wanted to be at, was I wanted to be able to buy myself a pair of 95s because my dad wasn't going to buy them for me. And I didn't even know the name of Air Max 95. I just thought, I need those gray and neon green shoes. This is what I'm working towards, right? So obviously I'm buying bike parts and I'm doing it and it's going good. Then comes lowrider bikes. Lowrider bikes was, not everybody was riding them because you really couldn't ride fast and jump off of curbs with them like you could your BMX bike. But the lowrider bike was for really flossing. Lowriders were very popular in my area, like lowrider cars. So the bikes, obviously the young kids were into the lowrider bikes, full chrome. The shit just looked fucking dope, right? So everybody was like trying to buy Schwinn's and old Stingrays and old Gold Crates or Apple Crate bikes. 16-inch, 20-inch bikes, and then turning them into lowrider bikes. And it was very expensive at the time because you're buying Schwinn bikes. The same dude at the swap meet had the Chinese-made frames that looked like Schwinn frames, but they weren't. They were called something else. I think they just said lowrider on them or some shit like that. And the frames were cheap. They were like $40 for a frame that was already painted black, red, blue, and chrome. I think that's all he had to offer. The red looked like candy apple red. The blue had like metallic flake in it, and the black was just gloss black. Dope. He had everything to go with it. You know, forks, rims, all that. Bent forks, straight forks. You know, the ones that had a little springer to make it look like a lowrider. Fenders, handlebars, all that shit. So, obviously, me and my dad put together a lowrider bike. I've always been handy with tools, so we put together this lowrider bike and I rode it around. People flipped out because one of the first dudes on the street with a lowrider bike on my block, and pulled up, everybody flipping out, ride it to school, everybody flipping out, and then it's like, oh shit, you know how to, like, where the hell did you get this frame? Where'd you get this? And I said, I could get this shit for you for this much, but I could sell you the completed bike for this much. And people were flipping out because I had all the parts. I knew how to put the shit together, but the frame was the big expensive part. You know what I mean? So the frame was where I was pretty much making most of my money, because most frames were going for like, I don't know, 150 bucks or something like that. And I was going to deliver a completed bike for, I think I was selling it for like 250 or something. And completed, I could put the whole bike together for 100 bucks, maybe 90 bucks. You know what I mean? Depending on parts. And this is no twisted pieces. This was just straight shit. So I put the bikes together, started selling them, and I'm making really good money now. Well, not really good, but for a sixth grader, I'm making decent money. You know what I mean? And I have shoe money now. You know what I mean? Having shoe money meant, fuck, like now I could buy some cool shit. You know what I mean? I could go and buy some pants from the swap meet. Like it, I think back then cats was wearing solos. That was something around. That was popular here in Los Angeles back then, which was just a brand of jeans that were like baggy and they were cool. Same thing goes for like Frisco Benz and Ben Davis, Dickies, the normal shit. You know what I mean? So now I could buy full outfits. I could still go buy Chucks because they're dumb cheap, 17 bucks still. I could buy a fresh pair of Chucks, buy a pair of pants for 20 bucks, and I could buy a blank t-shirt. And I'd look fresh. I'd look just like the dudes that was slanging dope. I'd look just like the cats that was banging. All my older homies, the hustlers. This was the outfit. You know what I mean? It was just creased up jeans, plain t-shirt, crispy ass shoes. You was doing it. So I could come out like, you know, for less like 40 bucks. I was doing it. You know what I mean? And my mind still had those gray and neon shoes in my head, but now I could put together full fits because I was getting some good money. And it was just like, I always wanted the shoes, but I was like, man, I could get more outfit instead of buying the shoes. So I never went back to buy those neon 95s. I never went back to get them, but I was still interested in them. I was buying Chucks. I was buying every color Chucks. I was buying Nike Cortez. I was buying still Reebok Classics. Not the white ones. I was getting like the black nylon, shit like that. I was trying to do it up. But so I'm making the money. I'm doing the bike parts, lowrider bikes, all this shit, making money. Here comes Eastbay magazine, which fucking blew my head up. Once Eastbay came out, and once I seen my first Eastbay catalog, I was just like, oh my God, there's so many other shoes out there that I need that I didn't even know of. But I was like, what the fuck is this cool little magazine? And I seen somebody in school with it. I say, hey, can I check that shit out? I'm looking at it in class. I'm like, oh my God, this magazine has everything. Take a quick little break right here for sponsor, and then we'll get right back into it. Yeah. Yo, this episode of Bullshit with Brandoh is brought to you by Local Roots Clothing. The good people over at Local Roots sent over this dope ass windbreaker right here. If you could check that shit out, if you're listening, I got a dope ass black windbreaker that's black camo from Local Roots. This shit is sick as shit. Check out the back. Boom. If you want to rep your roots, make sure you hit up localrootsclothing.com. Now let's get back into it. All right, welcome back. Shout out to the sponsors, Local Roots Clothing. Now, if you're familiar with the Eastbay magazine, this is what turned me into the craziest person ever. Because I seen a kid in class looking at it, and I said, what the fuck is that? I need one of those. So the Eastbay magazine was just pretty much all the shoes, how you could order them, especially like shoes that were about to come out. At this time, the shoe that was about to come out, which was the shoe that pretty much got me into sneakers, that I actually bought and I wanted to buy and I saved up for, all this shit, was the Jordan 11, the Concord Jordan 11. And just for a lot of people that don't know, Concord isn't the black, like the black patent leather. A lot of people think Concord's a color of black, but it's actually like a purple color. And I don't know, not a lot of people know that shit. Like, so if you look at the bottom of the shoe and it has purple, that's the Concord color that's why it's called Concord 11. I don't know if a lot of people know that, or maybe I'm just old and I don't know. But I just wanted to put that out there because I talked to some people that just got into sneakers and they're like, yeah, Concord's like the color of black. No, it's not. Concord, it's like that purple color. So, whatever. I see the shoe. Obviously, I know who Michael Jordan is. I've seen his shoes before, but I've never thought about buying a Michael Jordan shoe before. And up until this point, I said, what the fuck is this? Patent leather. The shit was white with black patent leather. It's shiny. The shit looked fucking crazy. So I fucking need that shoe. Obviously, I'm making good money because I'm selling lowrider bikes. I'm selling bike parts, and I have the money to get it. I'm figuring out release dates and all this shit, like when the shoe comes out, how I'm going to get it. And obviously, I get the shoe, right? Once I get that Jordan shoe, my life is fucking in shambles now because I'm slanging, I'm hustling, I'm making money to support my shoe habit. And it's not like I'm trying to collect every single Jordan. It's not like I'm trying to buy every single shoe. It's just, I just want the shoe because it looks fucking cool. I wear the shit, I feel crispy, I'm putting together these cool outfits, and I'm like, fuck, like, now I'm buying shit that has some sort of value, but the value I'm getting out of it is just looking cool as fuck. You know what I mean? So, after that, I'm like, fuck, I gotta get my hands on an Eastbay because I need to know what's coming out and all this shit. And now it just turns into, I get the subscription to Eastbay. I ordered my first pair of shoes off of there, which were, fuck, I can't remember the name of the shoe. It was just a Nike shoe that just looked dope as fuck. It was blue and white. It was a runner. So I order that. I get the subscription to Eastbay. And now, you know, I walk around school. Once the catalog comes in, I'm walking around school with that shit in my pocket. I'm looking at it in class. I'm just like, fuck, this thing is fucking dope. Because now I know when shoes are coming out, I have access to shoes. You know what I mean? And it's just, I have the money. So, and back then you had to write a check for Eastbay. You mail the shit in. So obviously I'm giving the cash to my parents. Like, hey, can you order these? Here's the cash. They send for it. Boom. We're doing it. It's not like how it is now where you go on eastbay.com and you just order the shit. But the Concord 11 was basically a shoe that got me into the shit. I didn't even know the popularity at the time. I didn't know any of the shit. I just thought, that's a dope shoe. I need to have it. Let me get the shit. You know what I mean? So I make some money. I'm buying shoes. And then I go to the local Foot Locker here at the Del Amo Mall. They used to have 2 Foot Lockers inside the Del Amo Mall. I go into the one that used to be next to Miller's Outpost. That's another old-ass store, too, that used to be Anchor Blue. It was Miller Outpost turned to Anchor Blue, and I don't even know what happened after that. But the Foot Locker that was next to Miller's Outpost, I seen the Neon 95 in there. I said, oh, fuck, that's the fucking shoe that made me want to get into shoes. Like, I know I said the Concord 11 got me into it. That was the first one that I bought that I said, oh, fuck. But now I seen the shoe when I was with my dad, and I was like, dog, I need that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I literally need that fucking sneaker. So, have the money, boom, 95 is mine. That is this shoe right here. I'm showing, for the people listening, I'm showing the Neon 95. This isn't the actual one, obviously, but this is the shoe that I will always buy forever in my life. The Neon 95. This shit right here was a life changer to myself. After I bought that Jordan sneaker, it was like, I need to buy the shoes that I like. What I want, what I like. I knew girls reacted to cool ass shoes. Like, it was just something that was just into me, that I was just like, man, I need this shit. And what drove me more into it was knowing that I couldn't afford them, so it made me want them more. You know what I mean? So I was like, fuck it, let me make some money to buy these shoes. The Neon 95, it wasn't something very popular. It wasn't like the big thing. It wasn't anything. It was just fucking a crazy looking shoe that I wanted early on when I seen it with my dad, and my dad couldn't afford the shit, so he said no. Now I'm making my own money. I said, fuck it, I'm gonna buy these shits. I fucking cherished these shoes. Like Concord 11, these, the 95. I had another pair of, it was a Reebok Classics, but they were all white, but it was like mesh white. And yeah, like I fucking took really good care of the sneakers because I knew how much clean shoes meant to me, but at the same time, I knew how much I spent on them. You know what I mean? The investment that it was. It wasn't like, you know, another pair of Chucks that I could just buy that were 17 bucks. These were like shoes that cost money, like real money. You know what I mean? So I babied the fuck out of them. And that's basically what really got me into it. Now the Concord 11's cool. I own most of the 11s. Bread 11s, Cool Grays, Concords. When they come out, I buy them. But it's not my favorite shoe. Like this 95 right here is it for me. That's like a shoe that I will always buy. They re-release it, I buy it. I bought them for my kid when he was young too. Like it was just something that I'll always keep buying because I love that sneaker. And not a lot of people like this shit. Like a lot of people think like this shit is dumb as hell. This looks retarded. It doesn't look cool. But for myself, this sneaker right here did it for me. This is the shoe that got me into liking sneakers, you know what I mean? And since then it's grew crazy, you know what I mean? I've always just been into sneakers. Now not so much. I'm not really into it. I still buy shoes every now and then, just ones that I like, but I don't collect how I used to collect. And I sold a shitload of my collection for a decent amount of money, but it's just I'm not chasing like I used to. Before it was just like I'm buying shit that I like. Never really got caught up in the hype of everything, but I knew the popularity, and it just made things harder for me to get. So it was cool because I actually liked hunting down sneakers. You know what I mean? That was like something that just pretty much was fun for me. Was, oh shit, that store don't got it, let's go to this store. Oh shit, we gotta drive to fucking Burbank to get these shits, let me go to Burbank and try to hunt these down. Shit like that. And I'll get into more of those stories once I get some of my other homeboys that I used to go sneaker shopping with, and who I was into this shit with. Shout out to the homie Bob the Barber, and any of the other homies that I fuck with that we kind of did shoes together. Once I get them on here, we'll talk about the shit. But for myself, 95, my favorite shoe, hands down, top of the list, number one, for everybody that asked. And now if you go back and you look at my Instagram, you'll see that I talk about the 95 a lot, especially on Air Max Day and shit like that. 95 for me is it, but specifically the Neon 95. I get a lot of the other colorways too, but just the gradient, the neon, all that shit, fucking crazy. And like I said, I buy shit all the time. Like this, for example, these right here. I'm showing the Sean Witherspoon's 97 ones. I mean, like I said, I still collect shit. I still buy cool shit that I like. And it's just not because I'm trying to resell them and all that. I buy them because I like the shit. So there's still stuff that I still fuck with a lot. You know what I mean? But I'm not as active as I used to be. So hopefully this right here answered a lot of questions for people that were, you know, asking about sneakers. For me, the answer is Air Max 95. My favorite shoe, not everybody's favorite shoe, and I get that. And I'm not really into shoes no more because it's just a lot of the shit is crazy, man. Like all the reselling stuff and all the you know, fakes and all the shit that comes with it is too much for me. You know what I mean? I just fuck with some Vans now. See me walk around in basically black and white old school Vans. That's what I wear almost all the time. That's about it. You guys see me in these fucking Harley Davidson t-shirts and Pendletons. That's it. I'm not really into all the shit no more, but I still do buy. What the fuck? I still do buy a lot of sneakers, just the shit that I like. You know what I mean? So I think what just came out was the Infrared 6s. I just bought those because that's a classic shoe. I still fuck with that shit. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna cut the shit right here. Hopefully this answered some questions for anybody that was asking. But my sneaker story is exactly like everybody else. You couldn't afford the shit when we're young. Once we started to get money, it was like, fuck it, let's go in. Let me buy the shit that I couldn't afford. Especially with retro sneakers. Like, I'm glad they retro this shit all the time because it gives me a chance to keep buying them and keeping fresh pairs. I still have 2 pairs that are brand new from the last release that, you know what I mean? Once these ones get jacked up, then I'll pull those out and start wearing them. And if they retro them and release them again, I'll buy another 1 or 2 pairs. You know what I mean? That's just something that I keep on hand all the time. All right. Thank you for fucking with the podcast. Shout out to the sponsors. And thank you guys for rocking with me. You know what I mean? This shit is dope. It gives me a chance to tell my story. And also with the other shit is just pretty much telling you guys a lot of the mistakes I made or how I came up. And a lot of people are in the same boat. So hearing somebody else's story sometimes is inspirational, but I want it to be more informational for everybody so they don't make the same mistakes that I made coming up. You know what I mean? That's what I'm doing this podcast for. So once I start bringing people on and interviewing them, that's pretty much what it's going to be about, is how they came up, a lot of the mistakes they made, not necessarily just the rise of them, but basically the mistakes they made and how they overcame those mistakes so you guys don't make them yourself. All right? Catch you guys on the next one, man. Peace.